Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart to Heart with Gary Rhinehart. I am here with a familiar voice to the Heart to Heart program, Mr. Aaron Weaver, Vice President of the Historical Society of Lake Pleasant. How are you doing?
Hey, Gary, thanks for inviting me.
All right, we're going to be discussing the Historical Society, its importance to the community and to history at large. And you also had something to plug, a Heritage Weekend?
Oh, yes, we have Heritage Weekend coming up this August.
Excellent. So, first off, what is the Historical Society?
Oh, man. Well, the Historical Society of Lake Pleasant and Speculator is a society of people who gather together to help preserve the history of Lake Pleasant and Speculator's past and the present for future generations.
And people might think, oh, the Adirondacks can't have that much history, but we've been around for about 200 years, right?
Well, the Lake Pleasant has been around longer, but as a town, it's been around for over 200 years.
Yeah, so we have plenty of history to be preserving around here. We also have the museum, of course, that's located, well, like right down the road from the library where we're actually recording this. I've been in there a few times. There's some very neat equipment and various objects, depending on what thing you're looking at.
Yeah, we do have quite a few artifacts and displays in the museum, and we do try to change some of the displays every year so that there's something new to be seen.
Yeah, well, I noticed you always have the boxing exhibit, which is probably the one thing I'm actually very knowledgeable about when it comes from the Adirondacks.
The boxing display is very popular among the folks who come up here in the summertime, and that's because it's very much related to Camp of the Woods, somewhat related to the history of Camp of the Woods and of Osborne Point.
Yeah. And fun fact for you trivia lovers is that we actually made a petition to have the Boxing Hall of Fame located here in Lake Pleasant. Unfortunately, we didn't get that bid, but we actually did try to get it here.
Really?
Because of our history with boxing, especially the kind of the beginnings of organized boxing.
We actually have a lot of history with sports here in Speculator, and when it comes to winter sports, some people did do some practices here for the Olympics. So it seems like when it comes to the Adirondack Mountains in general, this is a great place for people to do sports activities to get ready for the big game itself.
Yeah, it's especially great because of our mountainous area. It's actually harder to breathe than it would be on a ocean level or sea level area. So that's why a lot of people train in the Rocky Mountains, or if you head down to Mexico, down in those mountains, because it's a lot harder to breathe. Therefore, when you get back on sea level, your lungs are now more powerful because they've endured training at such a high altitude. Plus, we've got lots of trails to run up and down. I always like seeing the lift kids run up Oak Mountain. They run up the one side and come down the other, and they do 2 or 3 laps. And I think my legs hurt just watching that. So that's one of the exhibits you have. I know there was one that had all the kids' toys from days gone by. Had the baby cradle too.
Yeah, we sometimes have exhibits on the loggers because that was one of the main industries, and still is one of the main industries within our communities. But we also have a lot of exhibits when it comes to pictures, and that's another purpose. That's one of the purposes of the Historical Society, is that we try to preserve local history by collecting as many local artifacts and photos that we can. Because pictures say 1,000 words. Now, keep in mind, they can say 1,000 of the wrong words, but but they do say 1,000 words of many things. And we are desperately looking for old photos. A lot of people say, well, I don't have any old photos. Well, believe it or not, any photo that might be 50 years old or older is something that we're looking for. If you have a photo of a business that doesn't exist anymore, we want a picture. If you have a photo of people who used to live around here that aren't around here anymore, we want a picture. So, and they say, well, I don't want to give my photos away. Well, we have a scanner, and we would love to scan your photos, and then we'll print them out ourselves. And so we'll have both a paper and a digital copy.
Yeah. I mean, even pictures of 20 years ago, around here, there are quite a few businesses that aren't around anymore.
Absolutely, and I agree. Those pictures are important as well.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about working at the inn at Speculator is we have what they call the Rogues Gallery, where we have a lot of different pictures of various events that have gone on in Speculator, particularly at the inn. We have like quite a few other photos of people who have come in, people who have passed away, people who have enjoyed themselves. There's one of, I believe it's the Perkins. It's that lady. I can't even think of her name. Like she seemed to be the matriarch of the Perkins.
Oh.
But she had like all the fish lined up, and the kids were there, and some of the old hunting lodges that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The camps, and then one of my favorites was the water slide that was made out of dollies. So like you would slide down the dollies, and all I could think about is like if you got pinched by like a dolly that might,
ouch.
that's like it'd be quite painful. Just like you come down and right on the took is just like wow.
But again, it just like Speculator Inn that has all their photos on the walls and many other places in our community, that's a rich heritage. And a lot of people don't understand that when we do research on local history, we do rely on oral history, just as important as recorded, factual documents. And they're both equally important to us because people's memories, even though human memory isn't the best, is still important because they put in a realistic personal view of what happened.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people would say is difficult about oral history is if anyone's ever played the telephone game, even between 10 people, you start with one message, you always end up with something way different.
And that's why you need to go right to the source.
Right, or as close to it as possible.
As close to it as we can. And we're always encouraging people that if you have a relative who has lived here and who has memories of this area, start asking questions. To that, this is what's so interesting. To the older generation, a lot of things that they remember, they don't think is important. But they'll say something that'll click into our minds. It's like, wait a minute, that is a missing piece of the puzzle that they remember. And so we want to try and get as much as we can before that older generation is no longer with us.
Yeah, and then you try to combine that with the artifacts and the papers that we do have, and then you combine the two to try and patchwork our history. Because we've discussed this, I think it was when we did the thing on the War of 1812, that it is very hard to patch our history because it wasn't very important to us. You know, survival and living day to day was more important than taking the time to record everything.
Not just about a lot of the history has been lost in fires.
Yeah.
And so like the War of 1812 that happened up here, most of the history that we rely on are documents that survived fires and letters. Now letters is oral history. It is history written by people of their memories. And so those are very important to us.
Yeah. And I know that, I don't know if you still have it up, but when we were here last, you had some of the letters from the 1812, I think from Colonel Peck, if I remember correctly.
One of the letters was from one of Peck's sons, who was a judge. down in Wells, and he was writing a letter for the veterans who fought in the War of 1812 to be remembered and recorded.
Yeah, I highly suggest if you've never been to Colonel Peck's grave, it is a great hike. It's a lot of fun. And actually, that brings me to another question. If I want to find a historical spot, such as Colonel Peck's grave or the Rhinelander Mansion, or something to go explore, would the museum be a good spot to ask, like, where would that particular place be?
If the historians are there, yes. But I would ask Ann Weaver and Bev Hoffman for that information. They know of many of the local historical places. Ann Weaver is the town historian of Lake Pleasant, and Bev Hoffman is the village historian or speculator. And they have great knowledge of the historical landmarks within this area. Also, believe it or not, the Chamber of Commerce will also have knowledge of certain landmarks that are visited often. But keep in mind that many of our historical landmarks are way out in the woods.
Yes.
And as such, even though we can give you directions, keep in mind, woods change, trails change, so you are many times are on your own. We will do our best to give you the best directions that we can give.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of the popular ones, the trails are usually maintained at least to a point where you have an idea of where you're going.
I can tell you now that Colonel Peck's grave is going to be a little difficult to get to. I've heard the beavers did quite a bit of damage. And
Darn beavers.
And the last winter storm that we had has brought down a lot of trees. So sometime I myself will try and follow the trail and try to record the best I can on how to get there.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have to get some young men to help clear trees and stuff.
There are certain things we can and can't do because it's on state land.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming you could move a dead tree out of the way and just be like, okay, I'll help you out. But when I was a kid, I remember it was more of a direct trail. Like, I remember going there and it was like, okay, we follow this path and then...
Well, when you were a kid, no offense, years ago, yeah, I'm aging myself too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're older than I am. How does this work?
It was very well maintained by the Boy Scouts. They did a very nice job.
Oh, so blame the Boy Scouts. I see how it is.
No. In fact, I'm giving them great credit. They did a wonderful job taking care of that trail. But a lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
And as a result, the best way, like you said, to keep a trail clear is to keep using it.
Right. You know, for those who don't know, I am also an Eagle Scout. So I take that. I take the voice. I'll take that compliment. It's probably the only compliment I get from Aaron, so I'll take it.
Yes, you better enjoy it while you can. But yeah, the Historical Society, our main focus is to try and preserve as much as we can of our local history within our powers.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've noticed a lot of is the yellow and blue signs that are cropping up around town.
Oh, the historical markers.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's one in front of the post office in Speculator. There's one across the Elm Lake Road where I think that was, Slack's store, if I remember correctly. But, you see more and more of them. Yeah,
our goal is to have 25 historical markers up. Right now we are trying to maintain the ones that we already have up because if you've noticed some of the wordings are coming off or the paint's getting a little faded. So right now we're maintaining the ones that we already have, but our goal as a historical society is to have 25 historical markers in 25 different locations that's over 100 years old. And a lot of people have been giving us a lot of compliments on these historical markers. One of the ones that we have to fix, again, because of the wordings fell off, is where French Louis passed away at the Lake Pleasant Hotel. And that's where the ambulance corps is, the building. So,
And then I believe there's one at the cemetery, right? In the Speculator Cemetery? I might be wrong.
No, I don't think we have
Or
one.
I feel there's a sign of some sort.
But there's French Louis' grave sign, yes.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, but I don't think, no, we don't have a historical marker there. We do have one in front of the bank, which is Sturgis Hotel.
Right. And then, do you have one up at the county building?
No, we do not. No.
Because I know that would probably be one for like where the hotel used to be.
Well, out of respect of Hamilton County, anything that would be Hamilton County property, we leave that to the Hamilton County historian, Eliza Darling, and she's absolutely, and that's another person that you really want to get a hold of if you have any historical questions. She's very knowledgeable and very resourceful.
Yeah. As someone who's tried to contact her a few times, the best way to get a hold of her is through her phone number, which I don't have, but you can get it at the county building if you're interested. They have the directory, and because she is out and about, always going to different locations and stuff like that.
She keeps on doing things. I mean, she's like most people who does everything. She does everything. That's how it goes.
Some people just don't realize, I mean, because of our low population, just how large Hamilton County can be. I mean, we go from Wells up to what, like
Indian Lake,
beyond, really. Mm-hmm. The Adirondack Park is one of the largest parks.
It is the largest park in the United States.
That's right.
And they say that you can fit almost all of the national parks in there.
Yeah, take that, Yellowstone. No, bigger than you are. But
and what's the thing is like you said, it's such a great area, and Hamilton County is one of the largest counties in New York State, with one of the least populations.
Yeah, we have a lot of woods. We have lots of woods.
A lot of woods.
So when is the museum open this summer?
Well, the museum is open on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. The best time if you want historical, if you're going there for personal historical knowledge with a historian, the best time to go would be Monday, and on all 3 days it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Okay.
Yes, but Ann Weaver is usually there on Mondays when she's not somewhere else.
Yeah, and then the other 2 days usually is a volunteer of some sort.
Yes, usually on Fridays and Saturdays we have a volunteer, or you may even run into Bev Hoffman, the speculator historian.
Yeah, I was actually a volunteer at one point. It was a lot of fun explaining to people the local history, or at least what I knew of it, and then directing people to where they can find.
And we're always asking for volunteers, and keep in mind that you don't have to be knowledgeable of the local history. All you have to do is to keep the doors open for the public. Yeah. The history's already there to be explained to them.
Yeah, and we together have done quite a bit of research. I mean, on various topics.
Oh yeah, and we did things for Wikipedia.
Yep. Updated that.
Oh man, when we looked up on Wikipedia on Wells and Lake Pleasant and Speculator, I'm like, who wrote this?
Yeah, it needed help. It needed a lot of help. And then we added to French Louis' page and to other things like that.
But yeah, somebody wrote, and forgive me if you're listening, but they wrote that Wells was originally part of Fulton County, and I was like, no, actually it was Montgomery County. Eventually Fulton County came out of Montgomery County, but by then we were already Hamilton County.
So
yeah,
definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Oh yeah. I'm sure someday if we ever have the time, we should get back on Wikipedia and start adding more stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. So now you were discussing about Heritage Weekend.
Yes, Heritage Weekend. I am very excited about that. The Historical Society tries every second weekend in August to have what we call Heritage Weekend, to present local history or what's connected to local history to the community at large. And every other year we have a reenactment. Everybody knows about the reenactments. Every time when I'm in the store, somebody's asking, well, when's the next reenactment? And I have to explain to people, we do that every other year, or at least we try, because it's not easy getting reenactors to take time to come up here. We're not really in a historical area where there's a battle, unless it's the War of 1812. Then you can connect militarily here. But all the other years, we try to have things like presentations and bring up authors or people who are somehow connected within our area. This year, on August the 9th and the 10th, we have 2 different documentaries that are going to be shown.
Yeah. Now, it's one of those documentaries, the one you were showing me earlier?
Yes, that'll be August 10th. But before we get to that, I want to talk about August 9th. Is that okay?
All right, we'll talk about that first.
All right.
I'm excited. And your listeners, stay tuned and you'll know why I'm excited.
Okay, August 9th at Lake Pleasant Central School at 7 p.m., the Historical Society, hosted by Barbara Schoonmaker, we're going to be presenting a documentary on the Lake Sacandaga Reservoir down in Northville. Now, that's not the same Lake Sacandaga that's up here. That's a whole different history. And the name of the documentary is called Harnessing Nature. I don't want to give too much away, but it gives you an idea what happened in the communities that are now underwater of the reservoir. And what happened to them and how it all became one town called Northville.
Oh, that sounds exciting to me. Especially when we talk about houses getting floating away.
And we're connected to this, and people are like, well, what does that have to do with us? Well, the logging industry has to do with it.
Well, that'd be an exciting documentary, and I definitely suggest people go see that.
Absolutely, and there will be refreshments for those who attend.
Oh, okay, now you just sold me.
Okay, good.
You had me at the documentary, but once you told me there's refreshments, I am sold.
Food.
The food, the drink, I am sold.
All we ask is that people would be willing to donate to help support the Historical Society. So just bring a donation, and we'd be very happy about that. Help us keep us going. Because that's what we do. We totally rely on either donations or the few items that we sell as...
Yeah, I saw a lot of people leaving with Lake Pleasantopoly board games. I saw like at least 3 or 4 people leaving with the Lake Pleasantopoly.
It is very popular.
Yeah, I still have the original, the first one that came out, which had and talking about businesses that are around, like Country Calicos, Brownies Contractors, like all these businesses that, like, when I played my friends, I have to explain to them like what they were.
Did you get the second one, the one that's being sold now? Because some of the businesses on there do not exist anymore.
Yes, I've gotten every iteration since that first one.
Okay, good.
And it is interesting because, especially that one, I think there's probably 4 or 5 businesses that still exist on that board, where the rest don't exist, or they've at least changed in some way that they're not their original forms anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, on August 9th is that documentary, and Mrs. Schoonmaker, Barb Schoonmaker, she does a magnificent job. She does. She's a wonderful host, and I think you will find it very enjoyable. Now, August 10th is another documentary.
Yes, it is.
But it's more than a documentary. It's also going to be a very short lecture with historical artifacts and displays. And yours truly is the host of this. And it's on the history of Hamilton County during the year 1812. And a lot happened during the year 1812. And if people have listened to one of our talks earlier on your radio station,
Yep, which you can find on YouTube along with this interview.
you will learn. You'll probably will learn a lot about what will be presented at this demonstration. Not demonstration. This lecture. But yes, there will be a documentary, and our wonderful host here is in it.
Yes, I am.
So
I'm in this documentary.
So if you recognize him,
No.
yeah, just point him out.
I just found that out today. I'm in a documentary. I'm also in a movie that uses the same footage as the documentary, but I can add that to my resume now that I'm now a movie actor.
Yeah.
I've worked at documentary, theater, radio host. Is there anything I can't do?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But
Let's go on.
Oh
Okay.
well.
But yeah, so if you want to learn what happened up here during the War of 1812, that is my knowledge of specialty. So we will be talking a little bit of the lives of the people. We're going to talk about what everybody keeps asking us about is the 1812 Military Road. And we'll be talking about events that happened up here just in the year of 1812 alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, do I have to start calling you Professor Weaver?
No, I don't have. That's the thing. I don't have. I'm one of the few people of historical knowledge up here that does not have any kind of.
I feel like that you should be able to become a professor without having to pay $30,000 to a school.
Well, believe it or not, I mean, I will never become a professor. But yeah, don't even push it. But there are professors in our colleges that do not have a diploma or any kind of doctorate.
Yeah, but it is.
In fact, many of them are probably professors because they wrote a book or something.
Oh, I got to get on that.
Mm.
I think Professor Rhinehart sounds pretty good.
It does have a nice ring to it, but I'm a little afraid of what you'll be teaching.
Oh, come on. All right, so we talked about the Heritage Weekend. So for the Historical Society, if people would like to join, if I remember correctly, it's $10 a month or $100 for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Or if you are a student, which is the age 17 and under, it is $1 a year. $10 a year for an adult, which is 18 up. And like you said, for a lifetime, $100. And if you are already a member, we thank you very much for that. And always keep updating us on ways that we can contact you. Mm-hmm. So update your emails, phone numbers, locations, addresses. Absolutely, please keep on doing that. And keep on donating because, again, anything that we get as money-wise is through donations and or through ways at the farmers market when we have fundraisers. But we're also looking for volunteers. We're always looking for volunteers because the Historical Society, not only are we in charge of the artifacts and in charge of the documents and photos, we're also in charge of Route 66, mm-hmm. which are those buildings behind the pavilion that was donated to the Historical Society. And we are trying to upkeep the historical markers around the town. And we have now started putting up posters in the Lane Emporium to teach a little history in there.
Yeah, I saw those because I go to the gym at least once a day. So I've started seeing those signs, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I do have to ask though, will there ever be a time that you open the doors to Route 66? I mean, like, of course you'd have to have supervision and stuff because the stuff in there looks really cool, but it's kind of hard when you look at it from the outside.
What we do is that's the thing, we need volunteers.
Right.
We do need a volunteer every farmers market day to stand there to supervise so that we can open the doors, but we have to put a gate in the doors so that people don't go in, and because we do have some artifacts in there.
Right.
But we do wish to open the doors again and put the gates in the doorways so that people can take a peek inside and see what's in there.
Yeah, so you can at least poke your head in. And
Poke your head in and take a look around, take pictures, absolutely. But in the future, we also hope to open up the church for weddings.
That would be really cool.
Yes.
That is, yeah, if you've been to Route 66, the church is at the head of the whole thing.
And you can put chairs between the buildings if you
That
want.
would be pretty cool.
Even within the church itself, there's enough for what do they call it, a six person wedding. There's enough room in there inside the church. But we would love to open up the church for weddings in the future. We think this would be a great fundraiser to help the Historical Society raise money to keep the buildings maintained. Because again, we need donations and we need volunteers. So absolutely, that would be a great plan for us in the future. We just have to write down some legal documents and all that so that they can be properly used.
All right, lovebirds, if you ever dreamt of being married in a tiny miniature church, this is your opportunity.
Yeah, get a hold of the Historical Society.
All right, well, thank you, Aaron. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we...
Please be more than willing to visit our website, which is lakespec.wordpress.com. That's lakespec.wordpress.com. There you will find out the latest information of events, where our geocaches are located, because we have geocaches in different historical locations. If you don't know what a geocache is, go onto our website. It'll tell you where all of our historical markers are. If you're wondering about our meeting minutes, they are open to the public. They're right here on our website. There's a lot of information on here, and we also try to connect information on other historical societies, museums, and such in Hamilton County.
Yep. And remember, if you do take a trip to these various historical sites, to be very careful when you're around them. You know, they're still historical sites, and we need to maintain them and keep them clean, and as clean as possible, you know, and
in fact, one reason why we support geocaching is because one of the main rules of geocachers is cash in, trash out. So always bring with you a plastic bag to clean up the trash around the area, because some people are very disrespectful of our forest.
Yeah, well, my listeners, I can tell you, very respectful people.
Oh, good.
Every single one of you guys listening are very respectful people. I know it, because you listen to me, and that just automatically makes you respectful. So, but yes, do take care when you do go to a historical point. If you see something that looks interesting, you know, contact the Historical Society. They'd probably like to take a look at it.
Yep.
So that's about it. So we will catch you next time, where I will be talking to Patrick Krause about the dangers of e-cigarettes and vaping. So until next time, I'm Gary, and I will see you later.